introduce our speakers today. We have Mr. David Lockhart. Is a little bit of everything. He's a teacher, a coach, a presenter, a maker, and a whole host of other things that all have one goal in mind, which is make the classroom different. Okay, he did it in his own classroom by bringing the historical newsroom concept to the high school social studies courses. He did it as a coach and a maker with the KSU I Teach team, and now he does it with coding as a member of the team at Tynker. Okay, classrooms need to change, and David's mission is to bring it. He is an educator support coach at Tynker. We also have Vidya, who's the director of content development at Tynker as well. She earned her master's degree from computer science from the University of Alabama, and has a bachelor's degree in computer science from Bangalore Institute of Technology in India. Vidya has been developing software for at least 20 years, so she's been in the game for a minute. At Tynker, she is responsible for back-end product development and building educator features. At Plusmo, AT&T, she built sports applications that were used by fans to track real-time scores. At On Command, she built hospitality solutions that are used in hotel rooms worldwide. At Distinct, she worked on packaging the TCP IP stack as components for developers even before Windows had one themselves. So very, very, very knowledgeable. And now they are doing this new thing with Tynker, and I'll just go ahead and let them take over. Do your thing.
Well, thank you for that introduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen out so we can definitely share this slide deck. Everybody can see the slide deck, correct? Yes, no? Okay, good. So this has changed the world with Python and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is actually something, and Vidya will talk a lot about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This is actually something that's near and dear to my heart, where we took the goals that the UN laid out for the world in 2030, and we have coding projects that go with it. And so like that great introduction said, my name is David Lockhart. I'm the educator support coach. But what I like to kind of tell in this, especially in this environment, is I'm from the Atlanta area. If you didn't see the Coke bottles behind me, you might have seen that. But I actually, one of my former a teacher who at my former school that I live basically right behind, the one I went to high school at in Cobb County, is actually in the chat, which is awesome. But I was a teacher in Cobb County. I was a teacher in APS. And then I worked with the AP, the Kennesaw State I Teach team, where we did a lot of maker and creative activity. And so it's always good to kind of do conferences in kind of the home territory. Vidya, anything you want to add past that great introduction?
That said it all. But I just want to say that I very passionate about CS and very passionate about teaching young students and make them aware of CS so that they can go on to careers and maybe even choose CS as a career path, especially for girls. So I'm all for girls in coding. Just that. Shout out to all the girls if they love coding.
And Vidya, they say she's the director of content, but she's really much more at Tynker. So we love Vidya, and you are very lucky to have her on this session. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about what is Tynker. We're going to talk about kind of the course progression and how we see coding progressing. And then you're actually going to build a project. And towards the end, we'll talk about like how to get support and how to stay connected. And really, what is Tynker? That's kind of the key thing to start off with. And really, when we talk about what is Tynker, I like to kind of think of it in these kind of two main modalities, two main kind of principles that we live by. And the first is that we want this to be the easiest way to teach computer science in schools. We want it to be great creative coding tools. And with that, you'll see that it goes all the way, and we've had a couple other sessions at the conference where we go all the way from a pre-reader, and in this session, you're going to see that we go all the way to AP. We're going all the way to AP curriculum in 12th grade. So you see that kind of scope where kids can progress. And so it's a comprehensive curriculum where the idea is that you progress with your skills and you kind of transition from that block coding into that text coding as you go. I think a really, really key piece here, and this is the reason I'm passionate about this, is that coding is a real creative tool. It's a creative tool that you can use in core classes. And even from a standpoint of a high school, I was a high school social studies teacher. I can see myself using this as a way for my kids to create in that class. And one of the kind of examples that I take back and remember is that I used to do video projects in my classes. And there was this one young lady who I could literally give $100 bill to, not going to put herself on video. If I can go and say, we're going to have this, you're going to be able to like animate and tell your story along with learning this future ready skill, that's money right there. And then the other part is that we want to make this as easy as possible on teachers, and that you're going to get all the data you would ever want here. You're going to get where the kids are, where they are in the lessons, kind of the lesson plans that go with them. Are they mastering concepts? And it's all structured in a kind of format that most of you, especially at the high school level, most of you use every day. Most of you are going to use something like Google Classroom or Canvas or Schoology or Microsoft Teams or kind of any of those kind of LMSs where you build a class and you add lessons. And that's kind of the format here as well. And then there's lots of professional development, and we are actually working on adding a lot of high school professional development as well. And so it's going to be a really key kind of piece as we go. I think, again, the whole point for me here is that it's empowering kids to be makers. It's empowering kids to create. And so this is like where what I was doing a lot at Kennesaw at the iTeach with the iTeach team is I was having kids go and make and create to show what they know. And I think the key is that you can do it in a lot of different ways. So I know for high school, sometimes block coding and initially with those kids, especially if they haven't had a lot of experience, is something that some high school teachers want. And so you have lots of great tools to do that. But then you can also transition, and Vidya will talk a lot about that transition into Python and JavaScript and HTML, where you can go and code in those real languages. There's AR in Minecraft. There's an augmented reality course where kids can code in like a Pokemon Go style game. They can also build in Minecraft. And then really the other part is that physical computing. Kids go and create and make in kind of the physical space. I really, really, really like, even for high school, the hardware piece that's down there in the bottom left corner. Microbit it really hits everything that I want in a hardware piece. And I've tried all of them. We built a maker bus that I teach and tried everything there. And really what it hits is when you look at it, if you flip that picture over, it's got 25 LEDs you can code. It's got 2 buttons you can code. You can plug in alligator clips to plug in lights and motors and sensors. And so really when you look at the things that really make physical computing really stand out is, number one, it's not expensive. Those things are only like $15. Number two, I think the ceiling is what I always look for. Can kids create and make a whole bunch of stuff with it? And then with the coding, it's accessible both on a block level, but you can also get pretty detailed into Python. So it's kind of that perfect transitional piece as well. And we have courses in both block and in Python there. And then the robotics and drones, a lot of our high school teachers really like the drones component. I know if we talk kind of this weird remote learning kind of space that we're all in, you may not use that as much, but that's there as well. And then I think when we look at kind of the other thing that makes this kind of stand out is that there is this global community building around where there are teachers that can help you anywhere in the world with this. I know in the Atlanta area, we've had a couple of Atlanta teachers on in some of our other sessions today. So that's definitely a piece there. I know if you're in the Atlanta area, when Coronacation ends and people like me can come visit, I would love to come visit, especially you, Miss Brown, because considering that I can walk to Pope from here, that's definitely a really good one. But we've seen people, like as we kind of had this COVID crisis come around, we've seen people on webinars from everywhere in the world you can think of. And really, the whole goal, again, is to let kids progress. Can kids progress in this kind of coding environment? And the way we see that grade progression is from a pre-reader standpoint is that it's touchable, tappable blocks that kids can go that are icon-based and picture-based. And then they kind of transition in middle school to that kind of block-based coding where they're not having to worry about syntax as much, but they can still do all kinds of crazy creative things. And again, if you're a high school teacher and you want to do storytelling, that block-based can be a good way to have kids animate and tell that story as well. And then in middle school, the idea is that they transition to more of a block-based form. It's still a block-based format, but they can actually switch those blocks into Python and JavaScript and Swift. And so they can see the syntax that goes there. And then in high school, the idea is we transition towards JavaScript and Python and web development. And really with the text courses, there is a vast kind of library of stuff here already. And Vidya is going to talk about what's coming, which is actually really exciting. But when you look at it from the standpoint of what we have already, we have JavaScript game design. You can do Python turtle graphics. You can do real world Python. You can actually do web development. There's a web development course. There's also that kind of Internet of Things where you can build with microbit and MicroPython, which is a really great way to get kids into kind of that physical computing. And can you build something that makes a difference in your life? But what's coming, and I'll pass off to Vidya here, I'll leave this slide up, is strictly high school CS courses. So Vidya, I'll let you kind of detail those.
Sure. Thanks, David. So like David said, we have a vast catalog of courses that go all the way from pre-reader to elementary school to middle school, and now we're transitioning into high school. And we're starting that with an intro to CS with computational art. And this would be with using P5.js. And what we are trying to do with in this course is take images like, the Starry Night, or take actual fine arts images, do it like a fine arts course, but using computational CS concepts to actually drive a creation of those images. And we talked to Zoe Woods at Cal Poly, and we are using this her course as a basis for doing this one. And what she found was that using art as a theme brings in a lot of more girls into the course than she did with like doing a game dev course in CS. That was she had mostly boys in that course, and then when she switched it to computational art, it brought in so much more interest from the female side of gender that she decided to do that not only in the CS department, she did it also as a course outside of the CS department for other departments to take a CS course, and it became really popular. And so we're doing this for at a high school level, and I think using processing P5.js is going to make it really interesting. The other course that we're doing is the AP Computer Science Principles course. And I want to give a shout out to Andy, who's on this session here with us, who's helping us build this course. So thanks, Andy, again for all your help. I think and Lynn, of course, we've been talking with Lynn and Constellations about APCSP for a long time, and we're finally getting ready to get this going and out there, and I'm very excited about this course. And the last one that we're also working on is the AP Computer Science A, which is a Java-based course. Now, Java is a hard language for any kid to do. APCSA is not a very easy course. It's a very tough course to get kids interested in, engaged in, and to make it fun and engage, and as well as teach them all the concepts. It's an extremely tough thing, and we're also working on that one. So it's going to be a lot of new courses for the high school in fall 2020. And I'm very excited to bring those to all the high schools. Is there anything else, David, that you want to add to it?
No, you like I said, you are the expert on those. So I think let's just build. So I'll unshare my screen and let you share yours.
Okay. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen here. And all right, so we're going to do today is we're going to go in to the Hour of Code section of Tynker. So if you want to follow along, I would log into www.tynker.com and then click on Play an Hour of Code, and then click on the UN category, because that's where we will talk about the different UN goals that we built lessons for. Again, this was built mainly to support the UN SDG goals that they had set up for 2030. And we chose 3 special areas: responsible consumption and production, affordable and clean energy, and life on land. And I think this talks to all what's going on today: green earth, being responsible, recycling, having affordable, clean energy, just, planting more trees. Every single thing, I think, is something that kids can learn and relate to. So we built these 3, and we have block versions of it as well as text coding versions of it. And we have the affordable and clean energy in HTML, CSS, the responsible consumption and production in JavaScript, and the life on land is in Python. And I just wanted to show you this, and also want to show you that if you go into this area where it says teachers start here, and then you click on UN, you will see that it comes with teacher guides. So if you go into, for example, if you go into affordable and clean energy, it comes with a teacher guide explaining the standards, giving you questionnaires for the kids to research and come up with ideas, and then also the actual tutorial itself. So let's go back and let's click on this one here, which is Life on Land using Python. And I'm going to click on this one here to start the project. What this does is it brings up a project that is basically, it'll have a tutorial. And this is our text code editor in Tynker. And we write really detailed step-by-step tutorial that will help your students or yourself go through and build this project. So for example, it talks about life on land, and it talks about the goal 15, life on land, and what it means to lose natural habitats, to lose biodiversity, right? So one way that we thought we could code is to have them virtually plant trees in an environment. So if you click on this sample, you can go plant trees and then learn how to do that in code. So the first step would be like if you click on this main.py, it takes you to the main py Python file. Otherwise, you can click on this and also get in here. So we've written this whole thing using processing. So we would want you to import processing. From processing, you would import all the functions. And again, before I go too far into this, I just want to ask if everyone is comfortable with Python. Do you need me to go slower? Please let me know if I'm going too fast. If you're good with Python, I'll just go forward. Is everybody okay with the speed? Okay then. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the screen here, and we're going to set up a frame rate so that the screen gets refreshed at a certain speed. So what we're going to do is, if you look at line number 9 here, it has a def setup, and this basically is the function where you set up your code and it starts up the program. It performs whatever you put in here. So the first thing you want to do is set up a screen size of 500 by 500. And although this says frame rate of 1, I'm going to change that and I'm going to make it 30 so it updates a little faster. So this is a number of times it'll update your screen in a second. So let's say it'll update 30 times a second, which is pretty good in a computer sense. Also, we need to set up the background image. So a quick way to do that, if you really are, just to make it easier here, is if you look at this copy thing, if you hit that, it'll go and attach the code there, and then you can delete the one on the top and it'll put that in there. So we have this little copy paste thing which goes and adds code for you. So if we execute if we just play it right now, you will see that it has set up a background of 500 by 500, and it's chosen to put in a color, a green color, right? And I usually like to go look at something like this and change colors here to a green, maybe choose something here, more green. You can change it if you get the RGB values here, 21, 148, 76. You can go back in here and say 21, 148, and what was the last value again? Sorry, 76. So let's try that and play. And you can see that it's got a darker green now. So you can play with the colors. You can have your students play with the colors and choose which one they prefer. And then, they can draw that. So I'm going to just go back to my original one. And now the code below here and then if you go here and click on the tutorial, you can go back to the tutorial view, so you can switch back and forth. So this run function here just calls the setup. So that's what it is, the run here that you see. And then we've got a draw tree function that's already given to you. Basically what it is it says draw tree, and then there is a type that you pass on to it. It can be a 0, 1, or 2, and 0 will draw a circle tree, a 1 will draw a triangular tree, and then the 2 will draw a multi-triangle tree. So we can actually see how that works by using the draw function here. So you can just, for example, copy this here and paste it here and then play it, and you will see a circle tree at 300, 300. Now, if you change that to a 1, you will see that it's a triangular tree, and if you change that to a 2, you'll see it more of a tiered tree here. So we have 3 tree types that we've already drawn here for you. So that's a good way to try which one you want. The other thing also is you can, for example, draw 3 different trees at 3 different places. So again, I'm going to try that. And it'll show you 3 different trees. It'll show you a circle, a triangle, and a tiered tree at 3 different spots. And you can change this. You can, for example, change this to 200, 200, and this to, 150, 300, and then play it, and it should show up there. So these 2 changed. Going back to the tutorial, now we're on step 3. So as you saw in the example, what we did was we are planting trees as we click. The mouse click is where we plant trees. So to do that, we have to add mouse interaction here. So again, what I would do is click here, place your cursor and then click on this, and it'll help you do it quickly. So wherever the mouse is, X and the Y, we're going to draw a tree, and the tree type is going to be 0 for at least for now. That's what we're going to do. So if we play this now, you're going to see mouse, wherever you click, you're going to have a tree being placed. And this is great. Just to start, this is great for students to do, that they can just plant trees, virtual trees in their virtual garden or virtual forest, right? So that's the first step. Now to draw more than one, we can also do a random number of trees. So for that, you need to import random on the top here, which is already done for you in this file. And then what we'll do is, instead of saying drawing just the tree type 0, we can make it random, and we can get any integer between 0 and 2. So we don't know what the tree will be, but it'll be a different tree each time. So we try that. Each time it's going to be a different one, and that'll give you some more randomness to your forest here. I think that is the basic setup of the basic tutorial. We also provide some bonus challenges here, and what that is basically you go pick different colors, and you want to fill the you can fill these. Instead of a specific color, you can choose a different color from the color wheel. So if you, for example, here it says choose to fill it by a random color between -30 and +30, and then add 175 to it. So basically you're going 175 up, 30 or lower than that to, so you go up to add 30 to 175, or you can go down from 175, 30. And so that's the range that you're going in. And here it's also the same, but you're going up 30 from 5 to 35, or you go in to 0, 0 to 35, basically. And so if we try that here, for example, the fill, if let's say we just do one of them, we can do plus a random dot rand int -30, 30. So that's just going between -30 and 30, any random number, and adding it to 175. If we do this, we're going to get different colored trees. Each circle tree is going to be slightly different shade of green. And so that gives a good variety here. Again, another thing that we ask the students to do just to customize their project would be to do multiple trees at one time. Like in the example, we had 3 different trees that we can do at with every single mouse click. So they can go here and add in the mouse pressed event, they can go and add more draw trees, and they can make it multiple trees for each key press or mouse press in this case. The other thing that they can do is there's no stroke here, but if we want to add some sort of stroke to it, we can actually give a stroke color to it, and basically what it'll do is it'll outline each thing. So it'll outline the trees, and so if they want to give more definition to the trees, they can do the stroke and the stroke weight. Play it so you can see there's a circle to it, and it's just for fun, and the kids can experiment with it. They may not want such a thick line. They may decide, oh, I want a thinner line, and I don't want the brown color. I want more of a darker shade of green. So they get to choose how to do it, and basically that's the end of this tutorial. We also have a lot of the functions that we are using in processing. We've defined that and how to use it and given examples here. So it's a very good starting point for any student who knows Python, who wants to do more with Python, and also to get into to just take the UN goal and to add coding to it, and to be able to share that is, I think, something that it would be great to bring into a classroom. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions about the tutorial, about Tynker, about the coding, about the Python?
Well, and folks, you can take some time to poke around in there. Definitely, if you need to do that, some time to poke around and adjust some things in those projects. I think that's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, and if you have any specific questions on the project itself, I'd be happy to answer that. And also anything regarding high school curriculum or high school courses that we have, I'd be happy to answer that too.
So I think let's take about 4 or 5 minutes here and let you guys kind of poke there. If there's questions in the chat, we're monitoring them. And Vidya, the question that I knew would come is, when are they rolling out? I'll let you take that one.
So we're targeting fall 2020 for sure. We'll be doing PD over the latter half of the summer, I think, and then getting the APCSB, the intro to CS, at least those 2 first out to the schools, and then followed by APCSA. So I think by end of August, September, you should start hearing more about it.
Poke around in there for the next 4 or 5 minutes or so, and then if there's questions, we'll definitely answer those. And if the questions, if there's not, we can wrap up. We can not wrap up, but we can talk about support and that kind of thing here in just a few minutes. But poke around in there for 4 or 5 minutes. If there's other Python lessons there, other JavaScript lessons there, the Hour of Code is always a great place to start with those. And I know I'm learning a lot from those lessons because I'm still learning Python as we speak. So definitely poke around in there for the next 5 minutes or so.
Is there a preferred browser when using this online platform? Because I was trying to use Edge, and the tutorial won't show up on my screen.
I think with Edge, the latest Edge should be okay. The Chrome, Safari, Firefox are all good. Chrome is something that we recommend as the browser. I do know there's a certain version of Edge that works and some of them don't. So I'm going to find out and post it here if possible.
Thank you. So there was another question.
I saw it. So, okay. Alana, so as far as the kind of free versus paid, the hour of code is let me actually do this. Let me share my screen. We can kind of go from here. And it'll give me 1 second to pull it back up. So kind of the free versus paid, we're not certain yet what the high school kind of curriculum is going to look like as far as that goes just yet. We're working on that kind of stuff as we speak. But when you look at kind of free content from a high school side, and let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see it. Which one am I on? I'm on this one. Screen, so trying to figure out which one's the right one. So when you look at kind of the free content, obviously you have those hour of code lessons, and those are always a really good place to look for kind of text course content. You also have weekly projects that come out every week, and a lot of times there's a text project that goes with those as well. But when you also look, if you look up here in this Create Project tab, this Create Project button, the idea here too is that you can create, there's templates here where you can actually create in Python, you can create in JavaScript, and you can create in HTML. So there are opportunities there with the STEM courses. There's actually one of the NASA lessons is in JavaScript to go and code in text languages for free. As far as the high school content goes, we're not certain just yet. We want to get that content kind of ready to go before we kind of decide on pricing. But great question.
And if I could just add to that, David,
Yep.
If you want to share the Hour of Code page and show them the text coding, there's also more there that they can look at. So maybe that's a good place to.
Yep. So when you look at Hour of Code, this is definitely a good place to start, especially for you guys. It's tynker.com/hour of code, and it should just come right up for me. So it's tynker.com/hour of code. So when you go to this page, and I don't know why my internet seems to be running a little bit slower today, but when you go to this page has got, the great thing here is it has options for every grade level. And really, when you look at it from a standpoint of like a high school grade level, you've seen the kind of UN options. And so again, there's the Life on Land, which is in Python, but there's a Responsible Consumption and Production project, which is in JavaScript. There's Affordable Clean Energy, which is in HTML. And I think what's really cool here too is that because you have comparable projects in block and in text, if you have kids that aren't really ready for a text language just yet, which is possible in a high school, you could actually have them do a block coding version of this project first, and then they can kind of transition to text. You also have these NASA lessons, and I think these NASA lessons are really, really cool. And one of those NASA lessons, the Tell Your Lunar Gateway story, you're actually telling a story of an astronaut in space in JavaScript. So you can go and use that as an option there. And then the other option is that when you click over to text coding, there are so many other things here too. So you have Counter Hack and Toxic Jungle, which are basically very simple starter courses for Python and JavaScript. The idea is that you go and you move a character through that environment, writing real Python or real JavaScript. But there's also the Draw Landscape, which kind of takes the concepts you learn in Life on Land and gives it a whole landscape feel. And then there's the Superhero Mask in HTML. So there is text content there, but obviously we're super excited about the high school courses. I'm super excited about those because it kind of gives that scope where even in high school, you see kids all over the map. As far as skill level, you'll have options and resources for all of those students.
especially those two coding puzzles that David mentioned, the toxic jungle and the counter hack, as well as our Python 101 and our JavaScript 101. They are great starting courses and lessons to get to transition the kids from block to text, or if they've never done any coding before, to get them more aware of syntax and to just get them started in text coding. Those are really great platforms to get them started. And with the superhero masks, those are fun because it's using pixel art in HTML and CSS, and you're actually drawing your mask out. And I just wanted to say that those are really fun to create and draw a landscape. It's very similar to the Life on Land, but now you're doing layers. So it's just adding on to the complexity of it. And that is a very fun one for the students as well.
Awesome. And so when you look at it from a text course standpoint, so this gets into the premium content a little bit. There are already text course, as Vidya mentioned, there are already text courses there. There's the, I don't know why my internet seems to be really slow. There are the Python 101 and the, actually it's up here, JavaScript 101, but there's also a web development course and a Python 201 course. So there's an advanced course for Python. I know for me, I like learning Python. That 201 has been really helpful to learn data sets. And so that's also an option as well. And then, of course, there's MicroPython for microbit too. And so let's take just a couple more minutes, and then we'll kind of see if there's any other questions. Explained it so well, Vidya. No questions.
That's a good thing.
I mean, I'm just browsing around here, and I just like the fact that you all using a lot of different types of characters and things like that, where it's not just the same old. I mean, I know I see Barbie up here. I guess you can never go wrong with Barbie, but you're trying to reach out not just to the young people, but trying to reach out to the females and males alike. So I like that.
I will say about that Barbie course, it's one of my sneaky favorite courses here because it's a free course. It's shorter. And really, I think for kids at that age, like storytelling is a really big part of it. And because you're working with Barbie, you're working with characters. And so it's a really good entry into storytelling and really a good entry into building their own projects.
Cool.
I want to say this. Out of all the courses that we built, I think our Tynker Junior, where we teach pre-readers computer science concepts, is being the most challenging for us. I would say it's because you have to teach those difficult concepts and there's no picture, no words, just pictures, depicting the right picture to make them understand, to make it easy but complex. They're all like very interesting.
Yeah, I have my own children that use Tynker Junior.
They love it, right? It's a very loved product. I'm just saying that it's a lot of thought, and it's very challenging to do something like that versus and then move to a high school course. It's two different things out there.
So the one that's the weirdest with Tynker Junior, that's to me, is every time I see stuff about it, because SmartPass, the picture of the kid scanning the SmartPass that's in Tynker Everywhere, it's my son. And so I took that picture. So every time I see that picture, I used it today. I'm like, that's my own kid. And so that's one of the most interesting parts that for me with it is just seeing that picture everywhere.
He's famous now.
The back of his head is famous. All right, so if you still have questions, you can still throw those in the chat. I think what I want to do is I want to flip back over real quick and talk a little bit about how to get connected. And especially from the high school standpoint, how to get where training is going to be in PD as we start to roll that out so you guys can see that. And so give me 1 second. I don't want, let's get rid of that. And let me share my screen real quick, and then we can go and show you those couple of pieces. And so really, when you look at those couple of pieces, we got a couple of pieces on how to get connected. And let me share this presentation slide deck. And so really the first is to kind of join our education community. And I think really when we look at kind of where you can find some of the stuff we're doing on Twitter is we use hashtags on the education side of every student can code and every teacher can code, because that's the thing here is we believe that every student should have that opportunity and every teacher should have that opportunity. And with the students, what I is like ingrained in my brain now is I saw Jamie Cassup, who was the education evangelist at Google, speak at a conference a couple of years ago. And he put it really succinctly. And he said, you know, not everybody's going to need to be a computer programmer. But when you think about an organization like Google, you have people that are selling like YouTube ads. Don't you think it helps them that they know kind of the programming behind it? I know for me, I'm not a computer programmer, but knowing what we're doing on the programming side is helping me kind of do my job better. And then, of course, there's all those other skills that come with it, analytical skills, problem solving, all those things that are really built out to it, and it becomes this great creative output. And then I think the whole key for us is we want every teacher to have the opportunity to be able to teach coding. And so we want to make it easy on the teachers, and you'll see that as we kind of roll this high school curriculum out too. And so the Facebook community, we do have a Facebook community that is kind of built off of one of our PD, an original PD group, but has become as adding teachers, especially as we're in our weird coronation time. So definitely take a look at that. And so I'll leave that up for just a second. Feel free to screenshot. And then the other key piece is like, how do you get more? How do you get support? How do you get training? All of those kinds of things. And so when you look at kind of support, we actually have kind of two support emails. If you want just straight education support, like what do I do curriculum, pedagogy-wise, any of that kind of stuff, that educator support email address, I answer those. So you're basically speaking with me at that point. We do have a technical support that kind of all our technical support email comes in at support@tynker.com. And then I think the key, especially for you guys, is as we roll out this high school curriculum, we will have training that goes with it. We will have PD that goes with it. And we will do it in every kind of format that you can think of. And even to a point that hopefully as we kind of get it set, maybe we can do some live PDs if coronation is over and we can actually all be in the same room again. And Atlanta is always a good place to do that since I'm here. So definitely take a look at that page. And I'll leave that for a second and screenshot, and then we'll see if there's any last questions. And we may, it's the last session of the day at the conference. We may finish a little bit early, but I think most of you have probably, I know how I am at a conference after 3 days. My brain's kind of full. So hopefully that's okay. So let's see if there's any more questions, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, right. So you can go ahead and post your questions in the chat, or if you want to be invited up for video to the, I call it the stage, but do that as well. Please, just another reminder, if you haven't done so already, complete the attendance form that's pinned to the top of the chat. And we do have a few minutes left. There are some resources. I tried to post some of them in the chat as well with the websites and the hashtags and things like that. So you all can look through those also.
You've been awesome at posting resources. I've watched the chat too.
Oh, thank you. So I'm trying to keep up with you all.
I know sometimes I get going and I talk fast. I'm sorry.
So don't forget, if you post in the social media as well, we have the hashtag Constellations Summit. Go ahead and post it so we can see. We retweet. I was up last night just looking and retweeting some stuff.
Well, and if you want to connect on Twitter, I'm a big guy in a bow tie on Twitter. If you see me at a conference, I'm usually have a bow tie on. But home office, no bow tie today. Sorry.
And he is a big guy. He's tall. So.
Well, we can't tell. The camera must have subtracted 10 inches.
All right. I guess if there's no questions.
Okay. Well, we thank you all for attending and viewing this session with Tynker.com. You see a lot of resources, especially for the young people. And as you heard, they get ready to roll out the high school curriculum. So definitely hit them up. Go ahead and peruse and continue to explore their website and see how you can get your class connected.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Don't forget, we still have closing announcements. You can stick around to the main stage, and also networking. At the end of the day, meet your last couple of people. That might be the person that really you need to meet at the end. So stick around for that. All right, see you.
Bye.